The story starts before any white men had made it to the New World, after man was put on top of the circle of life, and after the wolf and the boy story. It was midwinter, the past few days it has snowed heavily, leaving a very thick layer on the ground. 3 hunters walked through the forest on a very late hunt. The village had a poor harvest and were unable to gather enough meat, forcing late hunts onto the village. Hunting during the winter shows a form of desperation. The only animals left around would be small game and few larger game that most likely are starving or sick. Bears have gone into hiding, deer have moved west, and caribou are farther north. The hunters had traveled for 7 days and had run low on food the 5th day. The hunters had found a few rabbits along the way. The meat being frozen left no fear of it spoiling. The 7th night was the night they decided to cook the rabbit. The first hunter started a fire using dry pine needles and dead branches under a 100-year-old pine tree. The second hunter searched the area to see if he could find any tracks or burrows, only to find what seemed to be a fox den that had been abandoned long ago. On his way back to their camp, he found hoof prints of some form of deer or moose that seemed to circle the camp about 200 feet away from the campfire until they seemed to vanish. The third hunter looked for a stream to gather water. He found a small stream. He smashed the ice cover on the stream to gather running water. He drank some to subdue his own thirst. Only to spit it out a moment later. The water was putrid and smelled of rotten meat. He followed the stream up to find a warm carcass of a deer. The antlers shattered into small pieces all over the ground and its body rotting with small lines of steam rising from the body. As he approached it, the smell worsened, the head was caved in and the body torn to shreds with bits of putrid hide hanging off small shrubs and twigs sticking out of the snow. The hunters gathered by the fire and told each other what they had found. The first hunter tells of the great tree, saying that it must be a blessed area due to the tree's age. The second hunter tells of the hoof prints and says that the deer here are large. The third hunter tells of the rotting deer with steam rolling off of it with the smashed antlers. The first hunter goes out to get more firewood so he can create a large fire to scare off any wolves in the area. The second one sharpens sticks into points surrounding their camp so that any bears would be stabbed before getting to them. The third hunter goes to honor the dead deer, believing that no animal would do this and that only the spirits could protect him, burning the deer into ashes so it may move on. At night, they cook the rabbits into a stew with a few edible roots to sustain them. Once they had finished their meal, they hear what sounded like a deer let out a blood-curdling scream. The first hunter threw more logs on the fire. The second hunter grabbed his spear, and the third hunter took off into the dark to find the deer, taking only a knife with him before the other 2 could stop him. The 2 hunters waited a while until the first one, stoking the fire, said he must have gotten lost and he must have set up camp down by the stream. The second one, who sharpened the sticks, said he would be back by daylight. They figured that some wolves had caught a wounded deer. They laid down for the night, but not before stoking the fire and making sure the spikes were sharp. In the morning, they woke up at dawn to find that the fire had been stomped out and the spikes pulled from the ground and put around the fire in a cone with the corpse of the third hunter impaled on them. His knife had been placed at the base of the cone of spikes. The first hunter ran to the old tree believing that it would protect him. Only to find it dead and dry. He ran back to the camp to tell the second hunter that they needed to leave the place immediately. Only to find that the second one was gnawing on his own bloody arm, growling like an animal. That was not the most concerning though. Standing over him was a tall skeleton-like creature with antlers sprouting from a strange elk-like head with human teeth. Its neck seemed normal, but the body was that of a mummified human. Skin stretched across the ribs like hide over a tent frame that was too large for it. Long human arms ending in what seemed to be deer hoofs protruding from the wrists. He heard the creature speak. Without moving its jaws or head, it repeated, "You need more. More is needed. You must get more." The maddened hunter who had chewed through the flesh on his arm grabbed his spear and staggered towards the second hunter. "I need more. More. I need more. Hunger. More." He muttered as he wandered towards the sane hunter as he backed off looking for a weapon or an escape. The towering creature straightened its back, standing up above the spikes that it had tampered with the night before. Plucking the third hunter off of it and dropping the lifeless body into his unhuman mouth. The first hunter ran. He ran in a straight line. He reached the stream and started to get his bearings, then went upstream. He walked for a few hours before having to stop and take a drink. He was hungry, but knew that he would not be safe to stop for long, if at all. By the time he had entered a clearing, he had forgotten the reason he and the others had come out here and was angered by the fact that they did not leave the moment they had run out of food on the 5th day. He dropped head first into the soft snow in the clearing, cursing himself for his ignorance, then drifted into a quiet sleep in a bed of snow. He would have not awakened up if it was not for steam being blown into his ear. He opened his eyes, turning his head to be greeted by the creature's soulless and empty eyes. That was the last sight he would ever see before its mouth opened, swallowing him whole. Do not go out in the dark. Do not think you are safe. Do not think you understand what is happening. You don't.